Okay, we're live. Welcome to our stream. Hello, welcome. Hi, Mulatto Vanguard. Hi. Thank you
Hey,
for being here. Thank you so much. So I just want to start off the stream with, positive intentions. I don't want this to be like a negative thing. Your light skin saying your thing. It's just something that affects us, and we're just gonna speak on it and how we feel about it and why I feel like it doesn't help anybody and it's not good for anybody. So we might as well just drop the light skin savior guilt and complex because it's not helping anybody or anything. So we might as well just drop it, you know? It's not out of hate, it's not out of resentment, it's not out of nothing. I don't want this space to be we're not gonna promote any hate narratives or any hating talking points towards nobody. We just want to love ourselves and fully and not have to feel guilty or feel ashamed about who we are. So that's the whole point of this talk. So thank you so much for being here. So I found an Instagram article about how to use your light skin privilege to uplift dark skinned people. That was the name of it. So I'm gonna read it to you guys. I want you guys to see, like, if we want to be, this is being a light skin savior. Just using our light skin privilege to help uplift dark skinned people. So let's read that article real quick. So first of all, what is light skin privilege? People of color who have light skin experience privilege because of their proximity to whiteness. Lighter POC are seen as more approachable, more palatable, and more attractive. This is a form of discrimination called colorism present in all communities. So that's that. So first, we got to call it out. Whether someone is belittling ethnic features or praising your essentials can't go undressed, especially when children are present. Intervening in discrimination can be the difference between a child growing up with self-love or internalized racism. And I think it should go both ways. It shouldn't just be all in us to just always sit here and call everything out and just like it should go both ways, right? It should be a two-way relationship. We should, if we're gonna be an ally to like dark skinned people, it needs to be a two-way relationship. It doesn't need to be just us always trying to fight and struggle and trying to always, uplift and promote and call out. But when it comes to us, it's like, no, you can't even talk about your issues. We don't want to hear about it. We don't care. That's kind of the energy
yeah,
that we get. That's where it comes from, right? So yeah.
yeah,
What do
because
you think about
regardless
that?
of which kind of like relationship you have, there's always going to
Mm-hmm.
have to be a trade-off. And that trade-off
Exactly.
could be them reciprocating the same level of support
Reciprocating.
that we
That's
give to them. And like when it
exactly.
boils down to like things that they address, such as like light skin privilege, because I've heard that term before. Well,
Mm-hmm.
again, privilege is like a generic term referring to all sorts of
Exactly.
different things, though. And
Mm-hmm.
if anything else, I feel that a lot of Black America is very privileged in a very
Yes,
unique
yes.
fashion
I'm a yep.
because they have like the global networks, all these social movements, the BLM
Mm-hmm.
global corporate network that is purely dedicated to them and to their people and for advocating for social justice, equality,
Mm-hmm.
and rights for everybody. They
Exactly.
that's privilege in itself because there probably is never, or at least there is not going to ever be a group like that anytime soon for us, in which you have
Exactly.
like a global network, a global multi-million-dollar network that
Mm-hmm.
specifically caters to us as much as there's groups such as for the transgender equality rights, LGBT rights, and then BLM. Again, there's nothing wrong with those social movements one bit. It's a great thing, especially when there is obviously still unfair levels of prejudice today. But you're never going to
Yep.
ever see a group like that dedicated to us, let alone
Exactly.
a group that has like a $1 billion. I think he's a billionaire. Let's say George Soros, a
Mm-hmm.
billionaire
Putting money
donor
into it.
who gives money to those groups.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Imagine,
Soros is going to
imagine,
give us money anytime soon. So
imagine they
that
had
in its yeah, that in itself
uh,
is privilege. I wish I
mm-hmm.
kind of sometimes envy that
Yeah.
level of privilege that they have, even though I
Okay.
should not have, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because envy, to me, it's just something that would just open up a can of worms you don't want to ever open up. But sometimes I feel a little envy that they have that privilege because we don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna get into that. I want to take into account. Yes, we have privileges. Let's be honest. We're not gonna gaslight. We're not gonna say no. We don't have privileges. We're not gonna be like that. We're gonna be honest. Yes, we have privileges that are unique to us, and so do fully black people. That I think they're kind of like, how it's like you're blind. You got your blind. you take for granted what you don't, what you're just so used to, and it's just normal that we don't have. We can see that, wow, that's, I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna get into everybody's privileges and how, they never want to use their privileges that we don't have to help us. So we're always obligated to use our privileges that they don't have to help them. And it's like, it should be a two-way street. We should all be helping and uplifting and promoting each other, and then not just be a one-way. Nobody wants to be in a one-way relationship where, you have a friend that's always talking about their problems, always trying to come to you and complain, always trying to come to you and tell you what's going wrong in their life. But whenever you try to bring up your issues, they ain't trying to hear it. They don't really care. Nobody want to be in a relationship like that with nobody. It's like I'm just trying to heal this relationship between like the biracial or light and the black community. I think we can have a healthy, positive relationship as long as things are being, you give us the same energy we give you, right? If we're trying to help you and uplift you, you can give us the same energy and not just be like, oh, well, they're cave people. We're we got cave blood, or, we're like all these horrible narratives towards mixed people that is just so hurtful. That's just being promoted and accepted as normal. That if we hear any hateful anti-black narratives, we want to call it out and say, no, this is not right, this is wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I want that same energy. I don't want people promoting and thinking it's okay and having platforms and promoting anti-mixed hatred towards us. So let me finish this little thing. It says number 2, don't take up space that is yours. The majority of POC in popular media are lighter models, actresses. Ask yourself if you're taking up space in media or conversations. And we have done this. Okay, how many people? Okay, the Black Panther girl, I remember her name was like Amanda something, but she was a light-skinned girl. She stepped down from her role in Black Panthers, and then she talked about it, and she got dragged for it. She was like, oh, she's so arrogant for saying that. It's like when we do try to, step down and, not take up space that isn't yours, we get dragged. Just like Sandy Newton or something, her name, but she got dragged for it too. And she was like, I don't want to take black people. It's like you get dragged. You don't, you know what I'm saying? It's like we try to do that and you get dragged for it. You get disrespected. It's like, no, not like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what's the point of even going to try to even go out your way to try to, not take up space that isn't yours and not take roles that are not meant for you, that are meant to be for black people and not biracial people, but you're going to get dragged at the same time for doing it. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's just insane to me. But okay, number 3 is uplift and celebrate. Using your privilege means using the respect and authority your privilege grants you. Boost the voices of images of darker POC on social media and everyday conversations. And I feel like people give skin tone too much goddamn power. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be cussing.
No, I mean, I agree. I agree though,
like,
because
really
let alone is that just, I mean, like skin color in itself is like a materialist concept, and it's just such a very fleshly trait that shouldn't really even have to be like a defining aspect as to how people are going to perceive you and as to how you should function or who you should really support. It just doesn't work like that, because it goes much deeper beyond that. Where it also comes along is like wisdom and like how you conduct yourself, because if anything,
behavior,
yes, because if anything, let's just say if we take like a bunch of black men from the early 20th century who were well dressed and sharp and in business suit and like had like an amazing like high standard of conduct, as everyone else should have, regardless of which race or ethnicity they come from, people are probably not going to care. But people, and then not only that, but during that time there were plenty of men at the time, black men, who were of darker and more brown shades. But then again, if those same black men were around today, no one's going to care about their color. It's just because the society is going to recognize that those people who look like that, hey, have, I guess you can say, some really good swagger, or they're really well dressed and sharply dressed. And therefore, the skin color part is just going to become a superficial aspect that people are not going to really care so much about.
Yeah, I agree. It's like we always boost our voices. My point is, okay, you're not gonna respect like a light skinned crackhead. You know what I'm saying? If he a crackhead, a bum on the street, just because he light skinned, he's not gonna have authority nor respect from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like it is based on your behavior, on your actions, on your thoughts, on your mindset, on your if he's handling business and maybe that does give him more opportunity just because he's light skinned, because you live in a white dominated country, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, there is privilege there, but I'm just saying I don't think it's just solely based on skin tone alone. Where like I said, you're not gonna respect the bum that's light skinned, like you're not. So it
Yeah,
says do the
you're
work.
far
Number
from
four,
that.
yeah, okay. So number 4 is do the work to dismantle colorism in your community. Educating others about colorism is easier for lighter POC because it doesn't cost them the emotional labor for darker POC experience when they are forced to argue for their own humanity. Do the work so they don't have to. So how do you feel about that? You have to do the work. It's our job to dismantle colorism.
So I'm just going to set it straight with everybody. It is absolutely not my obligation at all to dismantle colorism on somebody else's behalf. I will talk about it for myself and for my people. But if others really want to do that, they need to also be able to demonstrate just the strong will to be able to stand up against it themselves. Because if they're expecting me to, get up there on the podium and speak on behalf of them and basically white knight, it doesn't really set a good impression to the masses, because it's going to get society to think that, do they have to use a biracial or mixed race man who's fair skinned and has blue eyes to speak on behalf of other people who could actually have like the strong will to do that? That goes for even if white people would want me to get up there and speak on their behalf. Same case. You guys have to play the central role in uplifting yourselves and bringing yourselves to like that moral high ground. You need like good spokespeople to do that for you. It will be kind of like me getting up there and trying to speak for the gay community and trying to say, well, gay men this, gay men that. If anything, I think the gay community could use some great gay men and lesbian women to speak on behalf of them, because their fundamental issues are separate from the fundamental issues that we as mixies have going on. But it's okay to have sympathy. It's okay to have that support and understanding. But ultimately, we have to be the voices for our own communities. And yes, honestly, if people take the word white knighting the wrong way, I'm sorry, I mean no offense by that, but that's how I see it, is basically people wanting us to white knight big time for others and try to help them, gain more clout and more brownie points. If they have the potential to do that themselves, then I have no use.
Exactly, because they're
And I
asking for
don't
things
want
they
to be
don't want.
used.
They don't
like
really
I'm
want us
being
at the
used.
forefront. Yeah, we are.
If anything else, I don't want to be used, because that's how I was feeling like during the time. Am I being used?
Right. Nobody wants to be used and then discarded when you're no longer useful, right? Nobody wants to feel like that, So it's like they're asking for things they don't want. Like, you don't want us at the forefront of your issues because you want to be on the forefront speaking for yourself, and I respect that. That's how it should be, And then we want to be on the forefront speaking on our own issues, but it's like, no, we're taking up all our time speaking on your issues and just completely ignoring our own things going on and acting like they don't exist. If we bring them up, we get shamed and shut down, and we shouldn't talk about it because dark skinned people have it way worse than us. You know what I'm saying? It's like an oppression Olympics. Like, every single group and community have their own issues, have their own set of challenges and own set of things that they have to combat, own set of things that they have to get over and work together as the community to overcome, right? And it's like we're no different from that, you know what I'm saying? But nobody's even conscious or aware about things that we go through, because we've been taught it don't matter, because people who are dark skinned before us, because they have it much worse than us or whatever. But at the same time, they don't want us on the forefront. Like, I should be an ally. I'll 100% be an ally. You know what I'm saying? 100%. I don't mind that. But allies, it's a two-way street. It's not just always being about this person and never really caring or trying to understand or trying to, it's just about being a two-way street. Like, if you go to war, like allies, that's something that's like a war term. If you're an ally with another country and then you guys go to war together, and you know what I'm saying. But it's supposed to be two ways. If I need your help, you come help me. And then when
Yeah.
you need my help, I can help you. It's supposed to be a two-way thing. It's not supposed to be just one-sided. So,
Yeah.
so
The
that's
thing
what I
is
think.
that
Yeah.
they're not really going to be willing to live up to the trade-offs that are going to have to come along with some kind of mutual relationship we can actually have with them. Because again, they themselves will have to, you know, come to terms with the fact that even people in their own communities can be actually quite racially hostile towards us, or
Yeah.
then be
Yeah.
first to make some weird and unproven accusations about how, oh, we're just saying that because we just don't want to be black or something, or how
Mm-hmm.
we are just making quote unquote white supremacist like talking points, or like, you know, like things like along those lines. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then not only that, but kind of like as I was bringing up before in a previous live stream, it's also going to bring up a great deal of cognitive dissonance where you kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel that your actions, your thoughts, and ideas contradict one another. And then
Yep.
people are going to have to then start saying, well, it looks like they can be just as hostile as just about anyone else, and how
Mm-hmm.
there's nowhere in the books that states that there has to be power attached to somebody's racism. There's nowhere in the books which states that in order to truly be
Period.
racist, you have to be in a position of power. Well,
Period. Right.
there's nowhere in the books which states that.
I
But
don't
then
believe that.
also,
I think that's huge. It's like, oh, I get to be racist and hateful as possible as much as I want to be because people were hateful and racist to me. So that's it don't make no sense. It don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me. I think it's an excuse. I don't really buy that. I don't really. If you're hateful and racist, period, I don't care who you are. If you're a bum that has no power, you got no money, it's still wrong. I don't care.
you
I don't accept that at all. Like I don't. I'll never accept that ever.
you can't, yeah,
So
you can't solve racism with racism.
you can't, yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel like they want us to do. You know, I've been there. Look, I'm an ex-white team savior. Let me tell you about my experience. Yeah, I became very pro-black, and I became very hateful to white people. I thought that's what I was kind of following the crowd. To be honest, I was following the crowd, and this is what we're all doing. You know, it was like 2014. That's when Michael Brown got killed. You know, the police brutality. A lot of, you know. I could be an ally. I think the police system needs to change. I think there's a lot of change that needs to happen. There's a lot of racist police. You know what I'm saying? But I think it needs to change, and I will definitely support this change, and I'll definitely support, you know, people getting proper training and all this stuff. But it's like I don't want to become hateful. You know, that's what I feel
Same
like.
here.
That's what I feel like happened to me. You know, that's a result of being a light skin savior and being guilty about who you are. It's like you become hateful and bitter and mean. And you know, that's why self acceptance is so important. You know, like all these things like you know, being ashamed about. No, we shouldn't be ashamed about privilege. We shouldn't, you know, because you got to be aware that everybody has advantages and disadvantages in life. You know, I'm not going to be ashamed about, you know, what I got good going on to me in my life. You know what I'm saying? I just like
Exactly.
what I would make other people feel bad about the good things they got going on in their life that, you know, their advantages that I don't have. I'm going to be happy for them. I'm like, look, I want to see people happy. I want to see people winning. I want to see people, you know, in good positions. Even if I'm not in that same position, they're doing better than me. I'm gonna be happy. I don't like that crabs in a bucket mentality. Like, no, you can't be happy because I'm not happy. Like, I don't like that energy. I don't like that. That's not healthy. It's not healthy. You know. So, you know, hey,
Yeah, it's not
Mr.
one
Lynn,
bit though. I
hello,
mean, and I was
welcome.
even, hey guys,
Thank you so much. Thank
yeah,
you. Anybody's welcome up here. So
yeah,
we're just having a
feel
conversation, just trying to
feel free
talk
to
about.
feel free to come up, guys.
I got some talking points. Let me go to my little notes that I got. I wanted to talk about like self acceptance. You know, it's about self acceptance at the end of the day. Like everybody, let me see. Let me go to my talking points. Yeah, self
But
acceptance. You
I
know,
mean,
we have to
speaking
love and
about
accept
your
ourselves.
exactly. I mean, like even speaking about your ultra pro black Hotep days. Well, hey,
Yeah.
I was very pro
Mm-hmm.
white. Me
You
and
want to
you were the
occupy it.
opposite. But
Exactly.
even some
And
of
it's the
us
same
even go
result.
down.
It's the
Yeah,
same
even some
result.
of us even go down the pro white bandwagon or the pro white
Mm-hmm.
route. I was one of
It's the
them.
same thing.
I mean, like I still even have some of my old propaganda, and well, at some point in the future, I'll talk a little bit more about the stuff that I still have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something that I keep as a way of remembering my different chapters in my life and how all this stuff molded me into this much better chapter in my life.
Yeah, it's the same energy to me. I see very hateful platforms, black people being openly racist. I view it the same way. It should be treated the same way of white supremacists being openly hateful and racist. It should be get treated the same way. You know, I really do believe that. So, but let's talk about why do you think people think this way? So, I think there's always a good intention. You know, like me, there was a good intention. I became hurt. Like, you know, you learn about the history of between white and black people, and you view white people as a villain. And you're like, oh, they're villains. Like, they've done so much horrible things in the past. I mean, I just hate them. They've destroyed the black community, the bombs. You know, they were feeding babies. Just horrible things that are just inhumane. They treat it inhumane. So I'm thinking that's the right thing to do. Is just like, you know, try to go hard against them, you know, and that fight fire with fire. Like, I'm thinking that's the right thing to do. But like you said, you can't fight racism with racism, you know. Like I said,
Yeah.
I could support change, and I could do things another way. But if it lowers me and I got to become hateful and bitter and mean and racist, that I don't want to do. That's not healthy for nobody.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not
and
a
that's
healthy,
where
you know.
like kind of like as you like talk about a lot on your channel and even me, that's where actually
Oh,
a
we got to.
good level of spirituality has to come and factor in those, because you have to be more
Mm-hmm,
filled in the spirit when you're dealing with very touchy topics such as this, because let's just be real, the human condition is just very impulsive. It doesn't think
mm-hmm,
before it does anything, and people are just going to, blurt out with their emotions without any kind
yep.
of good level of stability and spirituality in the mix.
Absolutely. Let me welcome Sisu to the stream. Thank you so
Hey,
much for
you,
coming up
welcome.
here and using your voice. Thank you. I appreciate you coming up here.
Hello, thank you for having me on. I'm so
Hi.
excited.
Welcome
I'm so
aboard.
happy to. Thank you. So, what are your thoughts and opinions? I would love to hear what you got to say about everything, about this
Well, I
topic.
I wanted to state my opinion from a light-skinned perspective. I'm not biracial. I consider myself um mixed, but I have two mixed parents. But
Perfect. Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the experience that I noticed how other light skinned people, and not myself, but other light skinned people, we were kind of forced to merge into the African American community, whether due to the history of racism in this country, how racist white people view us, or how other black people view us. We're kind of forced into this monolithic black identity. And when you're light skinned or you have more finer textured hair, like the threes and even the twos, people are constantly telling you that you aren't black, but they're also forcing you into blackness. And you're kind of having to defend your blackness. So many women who are kind of like in my group or in my age group, they're constantly having to defend their blackness, and they're kind of like the gatekeepers of what is light skin, what is mixed race, stuff like that. And I I just thought of it. I think I made a comment on one of your videos, but I just thought of it. I was like, when you're an actual black person, and I mean like a monoracial black person, you really don't need to defend your blackness. It's just when you're black,
Right.
you're black. When you're white, you're white. It's only mixed race people, because we're constantly asked, okay, what do you mix with, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. We're the ones who are
Absolutely.
often having to state our identity, defending our identity, and then you have monoracials kind of gaslighting us. But when you're actually black, no one's going to ask you what you're mixed with. They're going to see you as black before you even say
Mm-hmm.
it. And I feel really bad for oftentimes light skinned women who are still under this monoracial black identity. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to constantly plead with people on how black you are. If you're mixed, you have every right to acknowledge that you're mixed, and that's okay. So yeah, that's what it's.
Absolutely. I counted
Absolutely.
that as
There's like a lot of
privilege.
like social pressure that kind of comes along with
Mm-hmm.
it. But then
Yeah.
also there's just those who know that they don't necessarily have to go along with like whatever narrative is getting pushed out there, but they will say that they are just black because if we have to, make this abundantly clear, if we were to say that we are oppressed black men and women in here who have been, discriminated and disenfranchised against, we're going to gain more clout, draw more attention, and gain more resources.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's a privilege that we don't have. Like even if you're
Exactly.
biracial or a light skinned of two black parents, it's like you're always gonna get your identity questioned, and it's not a like having you don't know what it's like to be like fully accepted and not questioned whatsoever, like a fully black person has. That's some privilege we don't have. We don't have that advantage to just be completely just this is what you are and nobody questions it. So it's something, yeah, like I said, I'm going to go down the list. I feel like fully black people do have a lot of privileges that they should be proud of, and so do we. And this is why I'm doing this topic, because the girl in the video, you've seen the video about how she was saying, I'm Mexican and that comes with a lot of privileges that I'm not proud of. And, she's pretty much ashamed to be who she is, right? Because she's always getting her blackness questioned and stuff. And I just want to uplift light skinned women and make sure they know, like, no, you shouldn't be ashamed about your privileges and how you carry yourself and how you walk through life, because people are always trying to question your blackness and who you are. Like, and you should just always be proud of who you are, no matter what other people think about you. People are gonna think a million different things. So people can't come to a conclusion about what blackness is. It's always the goalpost is always changing, isn't it? It's always changing. It's always, we'll make exceptions and rules for this person, but we'll accept this person, and you know what I'm saying? How it's always changing, and it's like there's never a constant thing about what is blackness. So it's like, it's picking and choosing. So it's like we just have to love and accept who we are, and then uplift who we are, and not feel ashamed about it, no matter what other people got to say. If we're accepted by black people or not, we gotta love and uplift ourselves no matter what. That's why it's so important to have these spaces so we could, not feel ashamed or feel like we have to be ashamed to be light skinned or be ashamed to be who whatever our lineage is, be ashamed about who we are, right? So that's why this conversation is important.
Absolutely. And the worst part of it all is that light skinned people, biracial people in particular, and other mixed race and multiracial people, they're constantly pushed in and out of blackness whenever
Yeah,
it benefits or doesn't benefit monoracials. Whenever
exactly.
you need us to do BLM and walk the streets and
Mm-hmm.
fight for systematic oppression, you want to
Mm-hmm.
use us, but for other things, we're kicked out of blackness. And I think I started to notice it like 4 years ago when, the whole dark skinned black women like empowerment thing was going on. And I think everyone deserves a space. But I found
Mm-hmm.
it incredibly insulting how these women would try to kick people out of blackness and kind of discourage, not discourage, but kind of gaslight people in their experience,
Mm-hmm.
as if me being light skinned or mixed race or having a white grandpa, um, or a Chinese grandma having to, as if I had a better life or a better experience than them. And mind you, I grew up in the suburbs. I was one of the darkest people in class, and I was one of the only people of African descent in the class. So I
Mm-hmm.
was seen as a black person all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yep,
And
me too. Yep.
yeah, and for me, I think it was just I think it's just so disingenuous how people will sit and gaslight you as if, oh, because you're lighter, you don't experience racism, you don't have the same benefits, or you have some type of advancement in life. And they want to sit up and accept or push you into this blackness, but they also want to, kind of divide you as
They
well.
wanna they wanna punish you at the same time for
In
Yeah,
other
it's
words,
crazy.
use you whenever it's convenient.
absolutely
But
Yeah.
then,
correct.
but
That's
then,
what needs to
if you
stop.
do something like the wrong way, then I guess your black card is revoked. I'm like, excuse me?
Yep. Yep. That's how it be. Those not that black card in a quick hot minute. Yep, that's how it be. But it's like that has to stop. That has to completely stop. Like I like that. I think people should be able to identify as they want. They should be
Yeah.
able to identify. I don't like the identity policing, and I don't like the oppression Olympics too, because yeah, we don't experience what dark skinned people experience. You know, and they don't experience what we experience. But it's like we should have every right to speak on our experiences just because they're different from yours, you know what I'm saying? Of course they're gonna be different, but it shouldn't be like a, oh well, you don't have it as bad, so you can't speak on nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the oppression Olympics, like where it's like I can only speak on my life. Like I can only speak from I can't ever, and I don't ever want to feel shut down or feel like, no, you can't sit here and say anything because, people have it worse than you. And it's like, I feel like we give too much power to skin tone at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we don't know. There's people who are much better off than me that are darker skin, you know?
Yeah.
And I
You
love
know,
that. I'm happy for them, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, we don't have, I think we all do have a certain amount of privilege. All of us have some type of advantages and disadvantages in life. And, we have to just be happy for other people who are privileged, and their, whatever their experiences are, whether it be, because we all got good and bad experiences where we were at a disadvantage point and we were at an advantage in this situation. So it's circumstantial, like you said. It's not something that's like, it's a generic term. Like it's not really, it don't really mean too much. Like it does, but at the same time, it can mean so many different things. Where it's not like one term. Like you said it best.
yeah.
Georgia, we were talking earlier. They want to hate on the other side in order to, exactly. That's what I don't like. I don't want to hate on any part of myself in order to be accepted by anybody. I don't want to have to hate myself in order to feel accepted. Like that's the thing. Like I hope that the Black community could accept mixed people. There's mixed people that live. I've lived in the Black community. I want to love and understand that part of myself because that's who I am. That's part of my heritage, and I want people to start speaking up against these anti-mixed narratives and anti-light skin narratives that are just affect us. That is not healthy. It's like you can't hate people, just you just trying to fight hate with hate. It's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
You want to know something though, I guess, in regards to what even Mulatto Vanguard said in regards to how, like they want us to hate the other side while asserting the Black identity at the same time. From experience, has been the same case even for some whites who have even like accepted their biracial family members. They would want their biracial family members to hate their Blackness and only assert the white identity. But here's the thing when it comes to probably some racist white family members who may do that is although they would want you to just exclusively identify as just white, if they get angry or mad, they will turn on you in a hot minute. And they might even slip up with a slur because they're still going, yes, either they'll walk on eggshells or they'll slip up with a slur, or they would say that, man, it's probably just that you know what in you.
Okay. So I got a question to Cece. So, I've seen this video. There's this video that was put out by Flower Towers, and she was there was these light-skinned Black women. She had two Black parents, and she was trying to push her into the biracial category. And so she was, oh, well, she has a biracial phenotype. The goalposts have been moved to if you're MGM and you're light skin, it's not. But I was trying to defend her. I was like, look, okay, we'll play Malcolm X because I know they're gonna try to make exceptions if somebody they like, right? If that's light skin, they're gonna make exceptions. So I was like, okay, we're gonna play Malcolm X, right? They're like, no, if he's 75% Black, then he's Black, so you can't claim him. But I was like, what if this woman is the same way? Just because she's light skinned and she's 75% Black and says two Black parents, how are you gonna try to, take her Blackness away from her? But you don't want to, you're going to make exceptions. So I was trying to defend her because I think that's wrong. If somebody has two Black parents that identify as Black, like that's perfectly right and they're reasonable for them to do so. I can understand like biracial, when it comes to biracial people, you have a whole white parent. So I can understand they don't want us part of their community and they view us as non-Black. I perfectly can accept that. But when it comes to like light-skinned women, I don't like seeing the hate for like light-skinned women who have two Black parents. I think that's like that's going way too far. So I just how do you feel about that, Cece? Like how do you feel about these women who are trying to come after like light-skinned women now? It's not about, they're trying to push light-skinned women into the biracial category. Like how do you feel about that? Like I think that's crazy. Because it used to be they only try to push you in the Black category, but now they're trying to push you away to the biracial category. So how do you feel about that?
I think for me, there's really no such thing as a kind of fluid biracial category. If you're biracial, if you have two different parents of a
Exactly.
different race, you're biracial. That's just it. Now,
Exactly. Right?
there's this idea that if you're 75% black and 25% non-black, you're automatically
Mm-hmm.
black. That is something that
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with, because when you think about it, if you're 25% non-black, that means you have a non-black grandparent. And
Mm-hmm.
people say, well, oh, you're not black because your parents, one of your parent is white. Well, if my grandparent is white, the grandparents' influence is going to have an effect on me. Well, it's kind of like, Kimora Lee Simmons, her daughter Ming, right, did
Mm-hmm.
this Instagram post um, about stop Asian hate, stuff like that. Black
Mm-hmm.
women dragged her in this Instagram post, and
No
it was
way.
like, oh, well, your mama's mixed, you not the one that's mixed, you black, calm down, sweetie. And then you had, of course,
Wow.
biracial and light-skinned girls like, honey, I'm biracial myself and I identify as black, stop erasing your black heritage. And it's just
Wow.
like, this Chinese grandma that she has played a big part in her upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And if she wants to support the end to Asian discrimination, she has every right to do that.
Exactly.
And
Wow.
it's so funny to me because it's like black people love to pick and choose who they claim to be mixed. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, like, you finally came to the terms that biracial people aren't black. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that, biracial people aren't black. They're mixed. Respect that. But
Right.
at the same
Exactly.
time, you also I think it would also be beneficial to respect the 75 and 25%
Mm-hmm.
people in Haiti. They were called Griffs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
represent, allow them to identify how they want to as mixed. Allow the quadroons or the octocoons to identify as mixed if they want to. Because it's just like
Right.
they can't see anything past black and white. Like, they
Exactly.
can't
Exactly.
understand that there is a spectrum of mixed race. There is certain ethnic ties and racial makeups, and it's just, I just wish more black people kind of just respected overall some of the diversity within the African
Right.
diaspora, and also respecting mixed people. That's all.
Exactly. Hundred
That was
percent. I
nicely
agree with
stated
you.
too.
Very nicely.
Thank you.
Yes.
The
100%.
one thing that I wanted to say, Miss, is that, because I noticed that, by the term biracial has been brought up now. So a lot of people can't really seem to like definitively define what biracial is. Because when I look at it in the dictionary, yes, it does say, was when you have one parent of one race and another parent of another race. But then it also says when you are two or more races. So you said that you have like mixed race parents. So I do too. So I'm not exactly what you would call FGM, in other words, first generationally mixed. But then at the same time, a lot of people think that I am FGM, and I very much live the worldly experience of somebody who is FGM. So, exactly what do I fall under, and what would you like classify me as? Or basically, me and you, since it seems as though me and you have like a similar background.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never been able to kind of click with the MGM kind of term. For me, I just describe myself as multi-ethnic African American, because for me, like, I'm a little bit darker than your complexion. So, and my hair is, black and on like a 3C kind of level. So I identify a little bit more. I just identify as a multi-ethnic African American. But however, um, you can describe yourself as mixed. That's the thing that I would call you. but you technically are a multi-generational mixed person because you say that your parents are biracial, right?
They are.
Yes.
I
So
come from that. I come from basically, even like my ancestral results said Louisiana Creole.
oh, and so like that's even one thing because African Americans love to claim Creoles as Black people when in fact they are a mixed group themselves.
Yeah, like during that time in Louisiana, the actual legit Louisiana Creoles were a mixture between the white Cajun French, African American, and even Native American. Because actually, like my great grandmother was a purebred Choctaw Native, and another grandparent on my mom's side was likewise purebred Choctaw from Mississippi.
That's so awesome. And for me, I would I would identify you as just a mixed multi-ethnic mixed race
I like
person.
that term.
Yeah.
I love
Exactly.
that. Multi.
But what's this is
Okay.
what's interesting about like me and Magic is that both of us have the same worldly experience. It's just our only difference is that she has an all white father and an all black mother. I don't have that. But everything
Absolutely.
else is basically the same. Me and her are much more similar than we are different. So
Yep.
that's just where like it becomes very tricky as to how to specifically classify us because of how
Yep.
I look and fall under and continue to this day at 30 years old have the worldly experience of somebody who is legitimately biracial.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I think it also plays with your phenotype as well because you kind of look like what's his name? I think Jesse Williams.
Jesse Williams. Yeah.
For a second I
People,
thought
yeah.
that
So as I
I
said,
Yeah.
mentioned, so I was actually on what's that girl's name? What's her name? Golden Goddess. Somebody brought that up too, and folks so far have said that my lookalike celebrities are Jesse Williams, Elliot Hulse, and what's that other guy's name? Oh, Jeremy Meeks.
Yes.
yes.
Jeremy Meeks, the criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the thing, and you want to know the thing is about
Prison
Jeremy
Bay.
Meeks is that he's actually FGM because he has a white mom. But people still say that I look like Jeremy. So the only
You
people
do.
I've ever been compared to are FGMs. I've never been
Mm.
compared to an MGM person. And no one thinks I'm MGM at all.
So you know what? You guys, this whole new term, a biracial phenotype. You kind of agree with that, or that's something that I got from Flower Tower. She said, if you have a biracial phenotype, that means you're not Black. You know, do you guys agree with that? What is your opinions about having a biracial phenotype? Is that a real thing, or is that just something they made up to move the goalposts
So-
for Black men?
So I think it is a real thing, especially if there actually is like a genetic and biological basis for that. Because even folks have said that, hey, I have that biracial quote unquote phenotype going on too. And since that is an immutable trait, I could actually, give some credit to it. But then again, at the same time, people have a tendency to go a little bit too overboard with all these new terms that are coming out, and it's just adding to all the confusion. But at the same time, having a good level of simplicity is, always needed.
Exactly. So let me get back to keep me back good. Okay, good. Keep me back up there. Perfect. Okay, good. You're back. Thank God.
Hey,
I'm
you.
sorry
You
about
missed.
that.
Oh, no worries.
My connection disappeared.
Your
Sorry about
stereotype of biracials are lighter skinned and exactly. That's why I like what Kiki said, respecting the diversity of it's not just Black and white. Like there's so much diversity within the mixed community. Like I love your space to you when it's I get to use so many different type of mixed people who have all different types of mixtures. It's not just
Exactly.
Black and white. So
There's
I
even because there are even like biracials who do have Afro texture hair, but they're fair skinned and they have the blue eyes. And I actually I knew this one mulatto kid who had a Black father and a white mother, but he actually had a white person's hair texture, but he was a little darker though.
Yep.
So
You
everything
know where
about
this
him
comes
is like
from?
his nose and his lips were definitely of a typical maybe Black dude's, but he had a typical white guy's hair.
Nope.
I played field hockey with this really sweet girl named Jada. Her mom was Hawaiian and her dad was monoracial black. She had a really beautiful dark complexion. Her hair was bone straight black. And I was like, "Oh
Mm.
my goodness, is that like your real hair?" And it was literally bone straight, like straighter than some white people's hair. I was amazed. But yeah, it's
Wow.
so crazy
I
to me
love
because
it.
this idea that biracial people are just this one look is completely false.
Yep.
When they talk about how, oh, black people come in many shades, it's really not the case. It's biracial people who come in many different shades. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful to see. Yes.
Absolutely. You know where this comes from? All this comes from basically from white supremacy because they wanted all categorized. They wanted to separate it because in New Orleans, right, there was a big mixed race population, thriving community. So all the immigrants started coming in. They started being the dominant race, right? So they wanted to separate them. So they made it illegal because there used to be like quadroon balls and people having fun dancing together. They made that illegal. They wanted to completely separate. They started the redlining and they started pushing all like the mixed people, all of them away because they wanted to only have black and white. They didn't want to have nobody in their communities of any color at all. So that's how it became such black and white. It's like if you're not white, you're black. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's where it kind of stems from this black and white thinking because it's like it's kind of a white supremacist. It's crazy how people take on white supremacist thinking so much, like it's black and white when we're not really seeing all of the diversity and all of the different mixes and all of the different types of people. It's like, oh, if you're not me, then I don't want you away. So I want to push you away. You know what I'm saying? I want to exclude you. If you're not 100% black or 100% white, it's like a supremacist talking points, and it's unhealthy. It's like we should have been embraced diversity from the beginning, but no, it was like we took on this white supremacist talking points and thinking of that. Oh, if you're not 100%, then I'm gonna push you away from my community. I'm gonna exclude you. You know, so that's what happens in the black community now. If you're not 100% black, then I'm gonna exclude you. You're not gonna welcome here. You know, I don't want you here. So it's just crazy how it's like, that's the thinking that is so predominant now. You know, so instead of just embracing diversity and differences and being able to love others for who they are, even if they're different from you, like it's crazy.
Absolutely. And I think we, as people of the African diaspora in general, no matter if you're white passing or if you're monoracial, we go through so
Mm-hmm.
many struggles and
Mm-hmm.
adversities in this
Yeah,
in this nation. And I
absolutely.
think it would be so beneficial if we were to just come together and be able to support each other when we need
Yes,
to, while also being
yes,
able to respect other people's cultures and way of life and identity. Like, I think even African
absolutely.
Americans,
Yes.
we have such a, like, our people sometimes have such a problem with how Caribbeans and Africans identify. And
Yep.
Oh
Crazy.
yeah,
it's,
they will flat out tell you, I'm
yeah,
not black, I'm Cuban, I'm Jamaican. End of story.
Yeah, they identify more
Oh yeah,
information.
it's
yeah.
just
And
Okay.
it's
yes, go
because
on.
they don't really want to associate themselves with American constructs because that's what
Mm-hmm.
ultimately like black, white, Asian are. They're American constructs.
Yeah, American. Yeah, that's what the article I read. It was called "Being Americanized," meaning that you start become black and white. It starts to become segregated. Like that's what like when immigrants started coming over to America, they started less identifying with their nation. Like they started becoming more identified with white, and then they became anti-black because they were like, I don't really want to be a part of that community, So they stopped identifying with their nation. So that's what happened in America. More people identified with their race than they are you know, America really. They put their race first before they put their nation. So, but in other countries, they put their nation first. So, I don't. America just, got the game messed
Yeah,
up. So,
because there's a certain
yeah,
point in time in which Italians were not even considered white, but
exactly.
then
And
all of
they
a sudden
became
they
white.
magically became white. And I was even telling Golden Goddess this on this her stream
Mm-hmm.
from last night is that it will even get to a point to where all these terms become so watered down to where people will even have a harder time even definitively defining what black and what white is. So
Yep.
you notice
It's
how
so vague.
like so this is kind of like what I was like telling like golden goddess is that it's now at that point in time where there is starting to actually be a demographic decline of white Americans and even black
Yup.
Americans, because in the black community, you have to be real about this, but the level of abortions that black women have is pretty high.
Yup.
The gang warfare is pretty high, along with the fatherlessness too. All of that
Mhm.
stuff in itself is definitely going to stunt just the
Yup.
population growth of Black America. And then with white America, it's just not having enough kids, along with the higher level of suicide among white men, along
Mhm.
with how a lot of whites are being, are being killed, or they're dying more than being born because of like the opioid crisis and drug overdoses. So because of that, a lot of people, especially like a lot of Hispanics, are now being lumped in as white. You even have a lot of people of Middle Eastern origin who don't even have any recent ancestral ties to Europe, who are actually getting placed as white. And there could even be a point in time in which me and you will basically start asserting the white identity just to help their numbers up just as much as those like the Umar Johnsons or the Tariq Nasheeds or the Hotep types, or just those that we've been addressing, want to absorb us to add on to their numbers for the sake of political gain and clout.
Crazy. It's like nobody wanted us to be our own people. It's like you either gotta help us. It's always like nobody wants to let us be our own. It always got to be about helping somebody else out, and it's like it's never reciprocated. That's what I'm saying. Like I just want it to be reciprocated. Like that's crazy though.
That's
Like
that's
oh,
probably, yeah. I want that too, but we already know that's not gonna. It probably will never happen. Probably will never happen anytime soon, where they're
mm,
not going to reciprocate the same level of trust as we give to them, because again, our issues is just not where the money's talking. It's also about money too, and how much money you can actually make though. Like with what Patrice Cullors, who is one of those founders of the BLM Global Network, she gets a lot of money. So much money to where she decided to invest in real estate and buy multi-million dollar mansions with all the money and power and influence she has, just by talking on the fundamental issues of Black America and their struggles. Our struggles and our social challenges are not going to make these people become millionaires. So that's why I don't ever see them giving us the same level of support,
facts.
because we
Exactly.
don't
That's
make the
my point.
dollars.
Yep.
We don't make the
Yep.
dollars, my
Don't
sister,
make them.
because as they say, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So if in their minds, we don't
Yeah.
make sense.
Exactly. That's something that exactly. That's what I want to talk about. Like, there's a lot of privileges that I'm a biracial person, so I'm gonna speak from a biracial perspective. So it's like for me, I see, you have your own schools, HBCUs, you have your own schools, you have your own communities. You could say, oh, this is a black-owned business and get supported, and that's something we don't have. I can't say this is a mixed-owned business and somebody, come and try to support me or try to help me out just because it's mixed-owned. Like that's a certain privilege, and that's good. Like those are good things. I'm happy. Like that's nothing to be ashamed of. And it's like yes, we do have our own privileges as white teen people. We're more represented in media. We are more preferred in the dating market, right? And I guess we're more palatable to white America. Those are our three privileges, right? Versus it's not a competition at the end of the day, too. You know what I'm saying? Like I think people should just embrace what they got going on in their life. Like I'm not gonna be ashamed or be, oh, I gotta always, fight for other people. And it's like I remember the biracial kid that got killed by the police. And what did people say? They were like, "Oh, that's not our fight. Go let they Becky mama fight for them." So it's like
Oh yeah,
they have power and clout. So they definitely have a lot of power and social clout. Like the people take their issues seriously, but they would never use their power or clout to try to help somebody out, like a biracial person or even maybe a light skin. I don't know I don't know if they would treat a light skinned person of two black parents. They probably would because they're trying to disown them from the black community too. So it's like it's kind of crazy, but they do have a lot of power and clout, that privileges that we don't have, and it's like we need to be honest about it. We're not just being proximity to whiteness is not. It don't really. It does have some of its advantages, but it don't really get you way too far. We don't have our own like collective. We don't have like a collective of like, you know what I'm saying? We don't have like a economy. We don't have like We don't have our own schools. We don't have our own institutions. We don't have our own workforce where you only see we're singled out in the workforce. You know, you go to work. So it's like a lot of privileges that we really don't have. And, you know, I'm not mad about it. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I'm happy that they have these type of privileges. You know, and I'm not even asking. They don't ever have to use their privileges. If they don't want to help biracial people or mixed or light skinned people, that's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Because I know we're more than capable of helping ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So we're way more than capable than helping ourselves. You know, we're doing it right now. We're all coming together. Oh yeah, go ahead.
If we're going to be honest, though, a lot of the institutions that cater to Black people in modern day were actually created by mixed race and biracial people to benefit us.
Absolutely.
And we were willing to allow monoracial African Americans to come in and get support as well. The what's the word? Oh my goodness. Take my Black card, but it's like the double ACP.
Double standard.
NAACP. Oh yeah, like
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah, like
Yes.
even like W.E.B. Du Bois, who was one of the founders of the NAACP, he was a purebred mulatto from Massachusetts.
Yes, and
Wow.
the two brothers
What?
who
I didn't know that.
set it up and were the presidents, they were technically quadroons or octocoons. Like the majority of their heritage was from Europe. These people, they used the wealth and status that were given from their European relatives and ancestors to create these spaces for all people of color, because back then we were all equally discriminated and a lower class. And they take their resources and they create these things that benefit the entire African diaspora within America. It's then over time that these people take our ancestors' credit, take our plight, take their hard work, and create it as their own. They just they sit up and, you know, create these horrible videos discluding the mixed race people that have contributed to equality. But when you actually look at the civil rights movement, who are the main people leading it? Rosa Parks, Malcolm X,
Thurgood Marshall, who was actually Black and Jewish,
Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass. These people are all mixed.
And they deserve all the respect, and they don't get it. They don't get it at all. And it's just like Maggie Lena Walker. She's a biracial woman. She was the first woman in the whole world to start a bank in America, and she hired all Black people. She hired a whole Black workforce. She was trying to do everything in her power to advance Black people because she loved them. She had a Black mother and a white dad. And she wasn't even born from rape or anything. Like her mother was married to a white man. You know what I'm saying? So it was like she was just doing all this out of love to try to help the community and help the people. And it's like, I just want them to be respected. Us all, anybody, nobody wants to feel disrespected just because they're born biracial or born light skin. Or nobody wants to be disrespected by anything, especially if you're trying to go hard, you're trying to help somebody, you want to see them, and you love them. We love Black people, we love the Black community. That's been shown throughout history, right? And we just want to be respected. We just want to be respected and have that reciprocity. I can't speak, sorry. You know, just be respected. Just have basic human respect, and not, you know, us be completely discredited and disregarded and disowned just because we don't look how you want us to look or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's all anybody wants, right? Just be respected. That's all we ask for, you know, and not just be excluded and, you know, have our history erased and buried and just all this crazy stuff. Just because, you know, you guys want to take on white supremacist talking points and only want to, you know, care about people who are 100% Black like you. So I think that's crazy to me. Like, you know, that needs to stop. It needs to stop, man. It needs to stop because it don't make no sense. Because like life is not. This is just a negative belief system. Life is not black and white. Life is all different. There's Native Americans. There's Asians. There's Hispanics. We have to get out of the black and white thing. It don't help nobody, you know. And us, like, you know, feeling guilty and trying to be light-skinned saviors and always trying to, like, you know, we've done that. We 100% have done that throughout history, and that's why it's so sad to see, like, them being disrespected because they've used their privilege, they've used their platform, they've done everything throughout history to do it, and they're just being disrespected for it. So what's the point? We might as well just stop. It's the same result. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, right? Like, that's crazy. So we got to just take that energy back and just focus on our own stuff, because we've neglected our own community, our own things, putting somebody else's community and problems first, you know? So it's time to just focus on ourselves and not cape for people no more, and burn the cape and just not be a mule, like, you know, like Dr. Williams said, like, we're not gonna be a mule no more. We're gonna focus on our own community. And that's nothing out of hate or it's just something that is just healthy. It's just the best option for us at this point, because we don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know,
I just think it's just, you have like a lot of people out there who have a hero complex. It feels good to be a hero. And if you could see yourself being a hero of a collective, then you're ahead of the curve. And just that feeling that you get from being ahead of the curve, or just having that moral high ground, it's great. It's euphoric. I just feel that a lot of our people just want that, or chasing that feeling, which is also why they do it.
It's like virtual signaling.
Yeah,
They try to act
virtue.
like,
Yes, that's precisely what it is. So it feels good to virtue signal, or to go out there and show how virtuous that you are. But there's always like a backfire when it comes to that, because look at what like Shaun King does. Now, I think that Shaun King has always had some great intentions, but look at how he goes out there and tries to show how virtuous he can be for the Black community, especially with a terrible experience he had growing up in Kentucky. But as a result of his virtue signaling, look at what the community is vilifying him as a Martin Luther Cream and other slurs. They're saying that he's really just white, that he's not Black enough, though, and that he's just being a poser. And he still continues to get hate even today, though, but he still continues to hop on their bandwagon.
Yep. It's like they take it for granted.
Yeah. So even if those like me and you, though, were to kind of go right ahead and do that, but let's just say if me and you were to win either Mr. or Mrs. Black America, then we will also face the same level of vilification as Shaun King is still getting to this day.
And I think that's mainly because it's just not mutual. Like, we cannot be super women and supermen and scapegoats and light-skinned saviors for people who don't want to give it to us in return. Exactly. You know, it's amazing to me how we and our European counterparts were at the forefront of Black Lives Matter, but then when Darius, the boy from St. Paul, got killed, because they found out who his parents were, he was biracial, they didn't want to support him in the way that they should. It has to be mutual.
Facts. 100% agree.
It's not going to be mutual, because then it'll involve, losing money or losing support, or just losing out on a narrative that they're trying to push out there.
Yeah, like I was talking about it with George about how we need to find healing. Like, you know how like people become hateful, like these social movements. Yeah, these social movements, they instill hate. They could definitely instill hate, and people profit off of that energy and how like every summer it seems like it's a tradition now that there's a protest, there's a movement, and somebody's making money off of that. You know what I'm saying? There's no room for healing and trying to heal the hurt, because hate comes from hurt. Like, there's definitely deep-twisted hurt and injustice there, that instead of promoting healing and trying to move forward, it's like people are just trying to reinforce hate because they make money off of it. They make money off of making somebody an enemy forever and never, helping people to move forward and move on from it. Because anger is okay. Of course, it's natural to be angry about injustice and, but you can't stay in that anger forever, Oh, somebody's you can't stay there. Anyhow, thank you for having me. Okay, perfect. Okay, of course. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. But my whole point is, it's like, instead of people trying to promote healing between a community, people are just profiting off of the hurt and the anger of that community. So that's why, it's never ending. And it's sad. And trying to be like a savior and a champion on these issues is not really helping anybody, because people are just stuck in this, in this hurt and anger, and never, because they profit, they make money off of it. So they're never really trying to, like, really trying to heal and uplift and trying to tell the truth about things that need to be really addressed, so they could, because they're always going to be worried about just saying whatever to make money. So yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
even like
Thank
people
you so
within
much.
those circles are even starting to pick up on like the race hustling types or the race pimping types, who seems as though they just like to capitalize off of people's emotions, not that they really care all that much
Exactly.
about like the fundamental issues that those communities face. And that really came to light when Patrice Cullors is buying like a multi-million-dollar mansion, let alone hosting a birthday party for her son in that mansion. But she's not using that mansion or any of that valuable assets or anything for the community or anyone. It just seems as though, so in other words, it's now giving people the impression that she just tricked a bunch of people to send her a bunch of money to buy up real estate and just to live out a lavish life for herself. And now, as a result of that, she's now getting federally investigated for possible mismanagement of the global network's money.
Yep, all that power and privilege right there. You know what I'm saying? From that social movement that gained so much momentum and gained a lot of money. It's not being used really to help the people. It's really not. Let's be honest, it's really not. It's like, you have to use your own power and privilege to help the people, because we kept using our power and privilege to try to help, the Black community, but it's never gonna, like I said, that's the whole point of this. It has to be reciprocated. It has to be equal two-way street here, because, we obviously want to help and, people and stuff. Let me see. Somebody kind of, okay, cool. All right. So yeah, but let me just do one more little talking point. I had a note. I had my note. So,
Yeah, go for it.
let's see. So, one second. Sorry, my daughter. So, okay, here's one of my things about, I want to talk about beauty politics for a minute. I like how you talk about that all the time. So I just want to say about, always trying to uplift and promote like dark skinned women, stuff in their beauty. Because I've been there before. I'm like, wow, that's really sad. I could see them as beautiful, and it's sad that society, deems them less attractive just because of the color of their skin, and it's sad. I'm like, I don't really like that. So I really wanted to help uplift, dark skinned women, and but it's like, it's just sad that people are offended if you do the same thing for yourself. Like, you wanted to do that uplift and promote yourself, but if we do it for ourselves, then it's like colorist, it's wrong, it's evil, and we thinking we're better. So it's like it don't make sense. It's like, I feel like people don't want to get rid of colorism. They just want to be on the positive end of it. They just want to be the ones uplifted solely for their skin tone and solely for the, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm trying to get rid of it in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really believe in treating people different just because of the color of their skin. I don't believe I got to sit here and praise and worship somebody just because they're light skin or dark skin or whatever. And it's like, no, people do want to be praised. Like, they love being praised, and just for the color of their skin, So it's just crazy how, that works.
Yeah. Yeah, but I always see it as kind of something as like, like actions speak louder than words. I don't even think that these people even want any kind of colorism or prejudice to go away. I just think that they are just in it for the sake of, again, for the clout, the money, and the self-aggrandizement. And they know that let's just say if prejudice and colorism is going to go away 100%, they're still not going to be happy, and they're not going to get any of their Google bucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to end this, and my kids, they want to go swimming. But I'm gonna leave on this note. This is my final little point before we close out.
Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to speak on where is my little note? Okay, and if you're celebrating and loving, uplifting yourself and that bothers people, that's not your problem. You shouldn't have to simmer down to make other people uncomfortable. Okay, period. Like, we don't have to sit here and simmer down just because it bothers other people. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't be, that's not our problem, our issue, you know? And this one's about like uplifting and promoting somebody else. If someone doesn't love and accept themselves, no matter what you say or do to try to show them that you're loved and accepted, they're never going to be able to receive that. There's never going to be enough. It's going to always have to reaffirm them. And it's like, they'll never really see it until they start to choose to believe that they're good enough. Like, it's like an inside job. We can't be the ones to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're this, all the time, 24/7, for them to feel like it. No, it's your choice. You have to choose. It's an inside job. Nobody on the outside can make you do that for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to love and accept yourself first and foremost before you even can receive that love and acceptance from anybody else. So that's kind of my final point here.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, if you don't even love yourself, though, then how can you love others?
Exactly.
It's kind of like
Exactly.
how,
And it's
like, I just kind of want our people just to know this, is that for those who may be watching or those who are considering hopping onto that whole virtuous bandwagon, is that know this is that you love them far more than they even love themselves. They have to
Exactly.
start
That's why
loving
like it is.
themselves. Yeah, they have to start loving themselves first before you can hop on that bandwagon. But the thing is, for
Period.
whoever's watching, you can't make people do stuff. You can't make them do something
Yep.
that you think that they should do in your mind. They have to do it
Yep.
themselves and do it
Yep.
with their own personal effort and collective strong will. But if it's just not there, then it's not there. So that virtuous bandwagon becomes a waste of time when you love and care more about them than they even care and love for themselves. It doesn't work
Oh my
like
God.
that.
That was the greatest ending point. That summed it up so perfectly. Thank you, Georgia.
Exactly.
I love doing these lives. We got to do a part 2. They're asking for an encore. You know, we're gonna get an encore.
Absolutely.
We gotta do
Yeah,
part
absolutely.
2.
So, like, the last
We
thing
need
I
to
will
schedule
say
part
about those who are commenting, though, you know, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mulatto Vanguard. Thank you, RTG. And I'd like to give even another amazing thanks to Abby. Hey, Abby, you're cool. I love you. We'll talk. Let's connect on Discord and even on here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody.
And also, like, a
Appreciate
shout
that.
out to Miss, I guess she
Appreciate
goes by Miss MM. Hey,
Thank you for
so
being here.
you
Thank
guys,
you, RPGT. Foster, we're going to do a part 2, and then I'll send you the link, Foster. And then Travels with a Black Rose, Model Vanguard. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We're going to do a part 2 soon. So it's been a great live. I got to go take my kids to the pool. So love y'all, fam. Y'all stay loving, you know, uplifting, focus on yourselves, and, you know, trying to come together, stay positive, stay focused, you know. Thank you. Yeah, come up next time. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, please
I love
come up,
y'all.
though. I mean, like, yeah, everyone, Abby is my homegirl. I love her. She's cool. You guys will love her as soon as she gets on here.
Yeah, she's great. Yep. So y'all, we'll be back. Okay, we'll see y'all on the encore. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Bye, guys. Love y'all.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Peace and
Bye.
love.